Today on the Ball and Socket Joint Says podcast, we're going to be discussing YouTube's future plans for podcasting. We'll also be discussing Universal Audio's new plug-in subscription service and a couple of other things, so go ahead and stick around. First up, I want to discuss YouTube getting further into podcasting, and this news comes from podnews.net. I'll put a link to this article in the episode notes and the description, but I highly recommend checking out the website, subscribing to the newsletter and the daily podcast if you are somebody who cares about podcast news. If you're a podcast producer or anything, go check out and subscribe to podnews.net. But, like I said, it looks like YouTube is planning to get a lot more into podcasting. This all makes a lot of sense because a couple of weeks ago, I started talking about how YouTube was going to give tens of thousands of dollars to podcasters to start producing video podcasts. So why would they not be getting more into audio podcasts? But let's go ahead and discuss this a little bit more. We have 3 slides from a slide deck that was sent for Podcast Movement, I think. And I think somebody made a big whoopsie-doopsie because it says confidential on the bottom, I believe. So somebody made a big whoopsie-doopsie. The first slide that was shared is talking about ingestion of podcasts, and they mention specifically RSS feed pilots, and then they discuss search and discovery, another big hot topic item for podcasting. That second one is a given, but the ingestion is what's interesting to me because currently, if you want to upload anything to YouTube, none of it is automated. You need to go and you need to drag and drop a file or select a file and say upload. You need to input all of your information. That's just how it works. It sounds to me as though YouTube may be considering pulling information, pulling data and audio files from an existing RSS feed. I don't know exactly how that will work, and we'll discuss this in a little bit. But if they just go and aggregate everything from existing podcast directories, they may run into some issues. You may need to manually go in and say, here's my RSS feed, then somehow confirm that is your RSS feed that you can claim, and then pull in your files. Not sure how it will work, but if they roll out some kind of automated data collection or file collection or podcast RSS ingestion, I think that will be interesting to see how they do that. The second slide is talking about audio advertisements. That's right, they are planning on rolling out audio ads. It says growth of Google-sold audio ads, allowing advertisers to tap into audiences who are listening to music, podcasts, or other audio content on YouTube. Launch of partner-sold audio ads in 2022. I think this is going to be a massive draw because other than discoverability, what is one of the biggest things that podcasters talk about? Making money. Because everybody thinks when they start a podcast, they're going to be handed over 20,000 active listeners for every episode, as well as checks for millions of dollars, as cars or motorcycles or propeller planes just rev their engines right outside my home. Why is that a thing? But I think that's really going to be a big draw because people want to earn money off of their podcasts. And if it is anything like the existing YPP or YouTube Partner Program, it would just have some pretty modest thresholds that you need to meet, a certain number of subscribers, and a certain amount of watch time, or I guess in this case it would be listen time. But I think a lot of people are going to be sorely disappointed. Just like they are when they realize, oh, I don't get 20,000 listeners just from making a podcast. I think they'll realize, oh, I'm earning $1 a month? What? This isn't worth it. And that will separate the wheat from the chaff. Is that right? I don't know if that's a saying or not. It will separate the people who want to podcast for the sake of podcasting and those who want to podcast for the sake of fame and money. Because the vast majority of podcasters do not get fame, and the vaster majority of podcasters do not earn any money. So I think it will be a big draw, and then a lot of people will be sorely disappointed. But I think a good thing about this is if you do have an episode that explodes in popularity, it could allow you to actually earn money. And I think that will be a positive thing, because I've had a couple of podcast episodes that really popped off on YouTube. And since I'm in YPP, I earned a little bit of money from that. I'm not going to pay. I could probably buy 2 dinners with what I earn off of this podcast. It's peanuts. And now maybe it's 1 dinner with inflation, but you get the point. You're not going to be making a bunch of money. The third slide is talking about metrics. They say update analytics with new metrics for audio-first creators and attribution. Integrate YouTube data into industry standard podcast measurement platforms. I don't think this is going to matter for the majority of people, and honestly, I don't know what new metrics they could be rolling out that would benefit audio-first creators, because when I look at my YouTube analytics, they are so incredibly thorough, and then when I look at my podcast analytics, they are lacking in comparison. YouTube analytics are insanely in-depth and valuable. They provide you so much insight. As far as attribution, I think the only thing they would need to change is make sure that they meet the IAB standards so that podcast listen numbers are not inflated. That's the only thing that I think they will need to alter. And I don't know how they'll do that. I don't know if YouTube's metrics currently would meet IAB standards or not. I don't know what IAB would have to do to actually verify and audit those stats. That seems like that would take a long time based on the number of listeners and everything YouTube has. So here is what I am looking at, what I am going to be watching for in the future. How they ingest podcasts. Because I think they will run into issues if they just decide we're going to podcastindex.org and we're going to pull everything and automatically put it on our site. If they go down that road, they will run into issues. I think what they will need to do is have people manually say, this is my RSS feed, ingest it into YouTube, and put all of these audio files there. But how will they handle podcasts that already exist? I already have a video podcast on YouTube. Will they allow me to tie an existing RSS feed to this YouTube channel that I already upload to so that somebody can select to watch the video or the audio directly on YouTube as opposed to going to a different website? Another thing that I'm curious about, will YouTube allow people to upload their podcast directly to YouTube and then YouTube would host an RSS feed for them? Meaning that YouTube would likely put a lot of podcast hosts out of business, because YouTube is wonderful in terms of hosting everything. I have zero complaints about YouTube hosting my content. That is because I'm not very controversial. So for controversial or edgy creators, I understand 100% the desire to move to a paid host. And I'm not going to switch from my paid host. I'm sticking with them. But it will be interesting if YouTube pretty much puts Anchor out of business. That's who they would put out of business first. Anchor, because YouTube probably going to be better. So that will be very interesting to see. And I think those are all the things that I wanted to see, that I want to pay attention to. How are they going to ingest existing podcasts? How will they handle podcasts that have an audio component but have been for years uploading video podcasts to their platform? And will YouTube allow you to host your podcast on YouTube and generate the RSS feed and distribute that content to other? Hang on. Let's think about this. Why is YouTube doing this? YouTube is doing this because they want to put in audio advertisements. I don't think that YouTube will burn in dynamic ads into your audio file and then distribute them. So I don't see them, I don't think they would have any kind of RSS feeds. So I don't think this is going to be podcasting. Although I guess it would just be a podcatcher. These are the things that are so interesting. How are they going to approach this? Because there's no way. They want those dynamic ads. That's what YouTube lives on. So they're not going to burn those into audio files, just like they don't burn them into our video files. It's going to be burned into the audio player on YouTube's website. So I guess it would just be an RSS feed, a podcatcher. That's how it's going to have to work. Okay, that's all I wanted to talk about there, and just rambling. And why am I wearing headphones? I can't even hear anything. I'll talk about this in a bit. This is weird now. Now I can hear myself too well. I'm going to put these back on. I will link the Pod News announcement in the description if you want to check that out. Next, we have a new product to discuss, and that is the Universal Audio Spark. There have been rumblings about this for a while. People were wondering, is this going to be a new interface? What is it going to be? And a couple people in my server found out what it was going to be very quickly because they found some patent. It's a subscription service for plugins. If you don't know, Universal Audio is a legendary company. They made some of the best analog gear back in the 50s and 60s. The LA2A, the 1176, the 610 preamps. The 610 preamps were used by the Beach Boys a lot. The LA2A used on everything. The 1176 used on everything. Just fantastic analog gear. I think they shut down for a bit, and then they came back in the late 90s, early 2000s with interfaces. It's the interfaces that I use. I use Universal Audio. But the thing that draws people to these interfaces are the plugins, because the plugins are great emulations of their classic analog gear and other companies' analog gear as well. But they are very expensive plugins. What did they just announce, though? Not only is it going to be a subscription service, you will pay $20 a month, but they are native plugins. You no longer need a $3,000 audio interface or a $600 audio interface to use and access these plugins. You are going to have the ability to just run all of the Universal Audio plugins directly on your computer. As far as compatibility, currently, it is only compatible on Mac. You can only do this on a Macintosh computer, on an Apple computer. Later in 2022, I believe they will be rolling it out for Windows, but $20 a month, you're getting it. You're getting it. You no longer need to spend thousands of dollars to get an interface or thousands to get an external satellite device with their Shark processors in it that allow you to use these. Now, something that I do want to point out, if you do this, I don't imagine you'll be getting real-time plugin processing. I don't believe you'll be able to run these plugins on your computer, monitor in real time through any audio interface. So it does still seem like there are some benefits for running on Universal Audio gear, but I think for mixing, this will be quite popular. Or I should download this Spark software and give it there's a 14-day trial, and see if it allows you to, if it functions at all like the Universal Audio Console software. If you don't know what Universal Audio Console is, that's the software that controls the interface. And it allows you to add plugins in real time and not only monitor them, but route that processed audio out to something. Or I guess that channel is just now processed, and then you do whatever you want with it. If you want to route specific channels to different things, then it becomes difficult and you need different software. But that's beside the point. I'm rambling. Very limited plugins at the beginning. Not many plugins to really make sense for $20 a month. What they are offering, API 2500 bus compressor, API Vision channel strip, Galaxy Tape Echo, Lexicon 224 digital reverb, Neve 1073 preamp, Pure Plate reverb, Studer A800 multi-channel tape recorder, Teletronics LA2A, UA 1176, Moog Mini Moog, Opal Morphing synthesizer, Ravel Grand piano, and Waterfall B3 organ. So as you can hear, you're not just getting plugins like a compressor and a preamp, you're also getting tape emulation. You're also getting synthesizers, Moogs. You're getting a grand piano and an organ. So you're also getting some soft instruments as well. As this expands, it may become more interesting to me, but as of right now, I like it, but I also hate it. I think it's great that they are opening this up, and I won't say democratizing it because it's still extremely expensive. $20 a month is a lot of money just for a couple of plugins. That's not cheap. But it does eliminate that barrier to entry. Prior to this, if you wanted access to Universal Audio's plugins, you would have to buy, at minimum, a $500 interface, the UA Solo or UA Aero. If you wanted to run a bunch of them, you're looking at thousands of dollars. My interface is $3,000, and it's just 4 preamps and 4 line inputs and a couple of processors in there that allow me to run the plugins. So it was prohibitively expensive. It kept people from gaining access to it. So I like the fact that they are eliminating that limitation. But on the other hand, I should also note, you are getting the native plugins if you have purchased plugins on your hardware. So if you have already in the past paid the $300 for one plugin, you get the native version, and I don't believe you need to pay for any subscription there. So that's a good thing, right? But the reason I dislike it, I hate subscription services. I hate it. And as I just alluded to, I also hate the pricing of their plugins. So it's a battle in my head. I hate subscription services, but I hate their plugin prices because some of them $300. I think I saw one for $400. I may be crazy, or I've just been traumatized by their prices. But if you don't use a lot of their plugins, if you don't rely on their plugins, I don't think this is going to make much sense because $20 a month is a lot. And the real reason why I hate this is I can see in the future Universal Audio saying, you know what, we're going to go full subscription. We're not going to sell you any of these. Sure, you bought our hardware. Cool, good, great, grand. Now give us $20 a month. I can absolutely see that happening. And you may think, $300 a month, or $300 a month, $300 for a compressor. Well, that's a lot of money. Why not just pay $20 a month? Well, over time, you'll end up paying a lot more than you would for this software for the plugins on their own. For example, I have been paying for Adobe for probably 10 years at $10 a month. Adobe, just to gain access to Photoshop, has gotten over $1,000 from me. I would much rather have spent $150 or $200 or $300 on Photoshop and never had to do anything about it. Not have to pay $10 a month. Because after 30 months, now I'm paid off. I owe them no more money, but since they just say $10 a month forever, well over $1,000. I don't do anything crazy. I don't need constant updates. I don't need all this information. I don't need cloud-based who'sy, whatsies, and whatchamacallits. I just need a software that allows me to put text over a photo, cut out pictures of myself, and add silly effects that make me look stupid. So, I hate it, but I love it. Currently, I hate it. We'll see what they do in the future, what kind of additions they add to the existing plugins. But currently, I get the appeal of it. They've made them native. And as far as what I use, it's mainly just the LA2A. I love the LA2A. It's the greatest compressor ever. It's what I use on everything. It's what I use on every single podcast. That's my vocal compressor. I love it. But I wouldn't pay $20 a month for it. Not a chance in hell. That is it for the news. Now let us talk about what I have been testing. And if you have been watching the video, if you've been looking at me through my window like the creep that you are, you're not allowed to look at me through that window. You will see I'm using a different microphone than usual. Typically, I've got microphones on my left-hand side on some nicer boom arms. That's not what I'm doing. I'm not testing out anything that I'm reviewing. Well, maybe I will review it again. Re-review. But I am using a USB dynamic microphone. Why am I doing this? Hey, Bandrew, why are you doing that thing? Well, why did I become Southern there for a second? Some kind of offensive Southern whatever. I have been screaming for years that audio gear doesn't matter, that you can get by with affordable gear, and as long as the audio is not painful to listen to, you are good to go. Just stop wasting all your time and money trying to buy as much gear as you can because it won't do you any good. And I understand I'm shooting myself in the foot by saying this because my channel is, hey, watch this video so you know what to buy. So I understand, but I also don't want to perpetuate this cycle of needing to constantly spend money. I've been ranting about that for years. And when I say that, what do I do on my podcast? I just keep using the microphones that I plan on reviewing. And I plan on reviewing a lot of higher end gear. So I used a $3,500 microphone. I used a $7,200 microphone. I used a $500 microphone. So on and so forth. Very high-end gear, which is counter to what I scream about. So I figured, hey, let's go ahead and give it a shot. Let's live based on what I scream about. So what I'm using, if you're watching the video, I rotated the microphone at the beginning to make sure that you're able to see the label on the side of it. It says, U1. U1. Yes. If you've been watching podcasted for any amount of time, you will know the name of U1 because in 2015, I did a very short video about how it was my least favorite microphone of all time. Now, why? Why was it my least favorite microphone of all time? Well, when I plug it into my computer and set the gain at 1%, I'm clipping. So there's no way to record with it unless you have it 3-4 feet away. That's issue number 1. Very big, very glaring issue. Issue number 2. Unshielded cable led to picking up radio signals. So the entire recording, if you touch the microphone at all, or if you hold it in a certain direction, it picks up radio frequencies. So you may be asking, who is screaming outside? I don't know. I have no idea who's screaming outside, but also, why aren't you clipping, Bandrew? Why aren't you picking up radio signals? Well, I bought a new CAD U1 and it seems as though they fixed it. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And that's what I figured I would do. I scream, gear doesn't matter. You can get by with affordable gear. So I am trying to get by with affordable gear. I have the CAD U1 on an affordable boom arm. I don't even know what it is. $30 on Amazon, I think. And then I did need some pop protection, but I didn't want a big pop filter in front of my face. So I went with the A7WS. It's the big fat foam windscreen from the Shure. It's $20. So I have a $16, if I didn't mention, CAD U1, $16. $16 microphone, $20 windscreen, so the windscreen's more expensive than the microphone. $30 boom arm, and then I'm not going to use any premium plugins. Maybe I'll install GarageBand for next week, but I didn't feel like doing that today, so I'm just using Logic Pro, and I will use the stock Logic Pro plugins, EQ, Noise Gate, de-esser, and compressor. And that's all I'll be doing. So you will see if I can live by my word that you can survive off affordable gear. As long as you use it properly, and as long as you are not stupid with how you process it, you can make great content with affordable gear. Now, you'll have to tell me if I'm wrong. You'll have to tell me if I'm stupid with how I processed it and it was unlistenable. But I think it will be listenable. I think it will be tolerable. And as long as the audio is not distracting, nobody cares what gear you're using. One huge downside, you cannot monitor with this. I have no way of monitoring what I'm doing. So I did a couple of test recordings and looked at my meters while I was recording. I tried to record without my headphones on, but now I've become so acclimated to recording with my headphones on. When I record with them off, it sounds weird. It's very strange that now it's weird to hear my voice without headphones on. It's got to say something about me. I don't know what it is, though. Okay, that's what I've been testing, CAD U1. Let me know what you think of it, because this is a very big experiment for me. I got a $3,600 microphone right here that I would love to be recording into, but I'm recording into a $16 mic. So let me know. Now let's jump to what you had to say. The first comment comes from Rebel Tech. They say, I'm with you on the audio gear market staying pretty stable, knock on wood, except for one thing. I cover the Zoom F6 field recorder a lot on my channel, and it has gone up $100 since its release 2 years ago. This would make sense if Zoom had some updates or adding accessories to it, but they just keep the package the same while increasing the price. This is making it difficult to recommend. I think if they bump it up again, I might have to stop recommending it because of who it's made for. Just want to get your input on this situation. Rebel Tech, thank you very much for the comment, and I kind of disagree with you. Last week, the entire point that I was making is that as demand for audio equipment increased, companies didn't say, let's artificially decrease our supply so that we can increase the price. And we also have not seen scalpers come in and buy up the limited supply and jack up the price, inflate the price on eBay, Reverb, or any other audio gear sale site. So that's really what I'm talking about. Audio companies have the intelligence to say, X number of people want to buy our products. Let's go ahead and make X products so that people can actually buy them. And that removes the entire market, the entire capability for flippers and scalpers to exist. Because if everybody who wants one of X microphones can buy X microphones for retail price, no problem. That's really what I'm talking about. Now, as far as the price of the Zoom F6 recorder going up $100 since its release 2 years ago, that's no surprise to me. Because companies do not have a magic button that they can push and say, I would like to forego inflation, please. I would like inflation to not impact me, please, and thank you. But companies are impacted by inflation just like us. And what has happened over the last couple of years? The cost of pretty much everything has gone up 8 to 15%, it seems. Housing, what did lumber go up to? Lumber went up 200%? It was insanity. So I am not surprised to see an increase from, would it be 650 to 750 bucks? That doesn't seem unreasonable. I know it sucks. It absolutely sucks. But that's the cost of inflation. That's the problem with inflation being so high. The cost of everything goes up. Because as the cost to manufacture products goes up, companies are not going to say, well, you know what, we'll just start losing money. Or we'll just go ahead and have a decrease in our profit by 30%. Who cares? No, they're going to say, cost of manufacturing went up. We're going to pass that on to the consumer so we can maintain that profit, so that we can actually grow our company and continue to exist and develop new products. And I am fine with that. You may be thinking that's stupid. No, audio gear should not go up in price. I get it. I would like audio gear to not go up in price. But it's not even the cost just of materials that is likely increased. It's the cost of fuel. Now, how does the cost of fuel impact audio gear? It doesn't use gasoline to run my audio. They have to ship it from place to place. And that uses gasoline. That's a petroleum product, I think. Or am I stupid? I may be stupid. Also, what do a lot of audio gear companies use? Plastic. Is that also a petroleum product? I think it is. It's a derivative of oil, right? Or am I crazy? I may be way off. But we have seen gasoline and oil skyrocket. So I am not surprised to see it go up from $650 to $750. I was more talking about the decisions that audio companies have made where they have not limited supply, meaning there's not artificial scarcity, and that eliminates the capability for scalpers and flippers to come in and buy everything up and screw the people who actually want the gear to use it and are not buying it to make a quick buck. Hopefully that made sense. Thank you very much, Rebel Tech. I appreciate you, and I'm with you. The cost of gear going up $100 sucks. I was really disappointed when I wanted the LA610 Mark II. It went from $15.99 to $17.99 or $16.99 to $18.99, something. It went up $200. Real pissed off about that, but I get it. Next, we have a comment from Chris Robinson. He says, I know you've noted that your standardized review format feels like it stifles your creativity a bit, but this is why the format is so important. It allows us as consumers to compare apples to apples as much as possible regarding audio gear. It's why we can trust reviewers such as Julian Krause and yourself, even if a company sent you the gear. There's too much quote-unquote reviewing going on here on YouTube when it's pretty obvious the goal is to keep the products flowing in from companies. Chris, thank you very much for the very kind comment. It really does mean a lot to me, and you're exactly right. The format does not change because I understand exactly why people watch it, why the format is valuable. Keeping a consistent format makes it comparable from video to video. Having the U87 in every video makes it comparable from video to video. It's a control from video to video. That's why I do everything I do. It's why I include so many mic samples. Do I like recording the mic comparisons? I hate it. Do I like setting up my microphone in another room, spending 15, 20 minutes doing that to get a 10-second clip? I hate it. I may have gotten it down to 10 minutes, but still, 10 minutes for a 5 to 10-second clip, I hate doing it. But I understand that adds value for the people watching, and that's the entire point of what I do. I do it because I want people to have as much information as they can to make sure they make the most informed purchasing decision, to make sure they aren't wasting their money. So even though I hate it, even though sometimes I think, gosh, I don't want to effing do this, this is stupid, I still do it because I know it will benefit somebody. And when I was reviewing microphones, I wouldn't care if somebody said, I don't want to do it, and then their video was worthless to me. I don't care how they feel. I want the video to be useful to me. So having that mindset of, I want my videos to be helpful to people, and nobody cares how you're feeling while you're recording. They only care about the final product. I have that in the back of my head all the time. So even though it's a pain in the butt sometimes, even though it does stifle creativity and limit what I can do, I'm going to keep doing it. So thank you very much for the kind words, and I hope I explained myself, even though I don't think it was necessary. All right, now let's jump to my favorite part of this show, the Ask Bandrew segment. Welcome to the Ask Bandrew segment. If you have questions, you can go to askbandrew.com. There are instructions on how to send in audio, video, or text-based questions. I do prefer audio and video because guess what? Then I don't have to read. I'm a stinky reader. Do that. Askbandrew.com. Instructions on how to do all of it. I'm still working through SpeakPipe. We're almost caught up. We have 3 today. First one comes from Jay. Jay, take it away, kind sir.
Hello, Bandrew, and I wanted to ask if it's possible to connect the TC Heliocoid GoXLR streaming mixer to another mixer if there are not enough ports in the GoXLR. Here is where I wanted to stream, and the GoXLR has a lot of great buttons and hotkeys for those sound effects. But if I wanted to connect more instruments, let's say at the very minimum 2, then something like the Behringer Q1 to USB mixer seems to be an interesting option that you have reviewed as an example. So I just was wondering if I prefer to have the GoXLR for the hotkeys, but then desire more connections to more instruments, what should I do at that point? Maybe I go for the wider mixers and ports, and then as for the hotkeys and sound effects, I have to find a solution in another place? Question mark. In any case, right now with my limited budget, I'm about to get the Worker Bee microphone with the Behringer audio interface. and that will do me good enough for now with one connection. The only upgrade to that would be the Motu M2 audio that has the MIDI ports at the back to add a electone or electronic piano, and that will also work fine. But I'm just sort of looking for a future proof of what are the next steps that I should take when I'm connecting even more instruments and more mixing. Thank you for the question and advice, and have a good one.
Alrighty, to summarize, Jay is getting the Neat Worker Bee and a Behringer interface in the meantime, but wants to know if he would be able to connect a GoXLR and a mixer together if he wants additional inputs for instruments. First off, let me start by saying Neat Worker Bee and Behringer interface, awesome stuff. Great budget microphone, great budget interface. Those will treat you well for years to come. As far as connecting the GoXLR and a mixer together, I do believe this is possible. Typically, I would pull a bunch of stuff out and run some tests. Frankly, I'm a bit lazy today, and I don't feel like finding a Windows PC, making sure everything's up to date, pulling out a GoXLR, pulling out a Behringer mixer, and running 50 different tests, so I'm not going to do it. In theory, it should work. The reason I'm saying, in theory, you should be able to set up a mixer and your GoXLR is because your GoXLR has two 1/8-inch inputs. Two 1/8-inch plugs, I should say. One is a line input, the other is a line output. So depending on how you want to go, you could set the GoXLR, why did I say, that was a really weird emphasis. You could set up the GoXLR so that that's connected to your computer and then run the mixer line out from the line outputs on that into the line input on the GoXLR, or vice versa. You could go line output from the GoXLR into a line input on your Behringer USB mixer. In theory, that should all work, but this does rely on the assumption that I never used the line input or line output of the GoXLR, but it relies on the assumption that the line input and line output of the GoXLR functions as you would expect a line input and a line output to work. There you go. That's my answer. Jay, hopefully that was helpful, but I think you'll find for most of what you're doing, that Neat Worker Bee and that Behringer interface are going to work excellently. Next, we have a voice submission from the Joker. Really? The Joker? Take it away, Joker.
Hello, Bandrew, Joker here, and I just thought I'd introduce myself and say, hello there. Anyway, this is my question that I would like to ask you. Do you think Travis Barker has saved punk rock, or do you think he has kind of destroyed it in his own way by making everyone sound the same? Everyone has Travis Barker on their album, on their tracks, their demos, whatever you want to call it. I was just wondering your thoughts on the subject. Do you think he's the savior of punk rock by making every drummer sound exactly the same? Which he kind of has, because every drummer on every punk song is him at the moment. I'm just wondering your thoughts. Let me know. Bye-bye now.
All right, to summarize, has Travis Barker saved punk rock by playing on a bunch of punk rock songs, or has he ruined punk rock by making all punk rock drummers sound the same because he's the punk rock drummer on every single punk rock song? I'm going to go out on a limb here and say neither. He has done neither. Neither. He has not saved punk rock or ruined punk rock. First, I know you are being hyperbolic, but he's just the drummer on a couple of famous singers' pop punk songs. That's it. So I don't think all punk rock drummers sound the same. Just if you're looking at the top 3 punk rock singers right now, who is it? Machine Gun Kelly. I almost said Travis Scott. I don't think that's it. I can't remember. There's 3 of them that have drummed with or had Travis Barker drum with them. And they're all really good pop punk songs. But also, I don't think he saved punk rock or pop punk because I still don't think anybody cares about punk rock or pop punk. I don't think anybody cares because there's nothing anti-disestablishment about them. That's what was appealing about punk rock in the early 2000s. It was a big middle finger to everybody and everything. It's not like that anymore. It's just happy-go-lucky. It's okay to be sad about this or hate the government. Everybody hates the government now. There's nothing interesting about it. I should say there's nothing interesting about the majority of it. I still love it because I adore this style of music, but I don't think the majority of people care about punk rock. I don't think punk rock or pop punk has been saved because the majority of people do not care about it because it is so safe. My understanding is people view pop punk as kind of like boomer music. They view it as that music that those old people listen to. We're the old people now, Joker or Beige Boy. We're the old people now. So I don't think he's ruined it, and I don't think he saved it. Neither. I hope that was interesting enough for you. I appreciate you sending that in. The last voice submission comes from JoeHit. Take it away, JoeHit.
Hey, Bandrew. Happy New Year to you and to everyone who is listening to the podcast. My question is for a microphone. I do have a choice, by the way. That is Shure SM7B. I'm choosing this because it's a dynamic mic and it's very quiet. And I'm choosing this also because my room is untreated and there is no soundproofing at all. Also, I think that Audient ID4 will work best for this microphone. But I want to know if this mic will work great for untreated room, or should I go for a budget mic such as Shure SM58 or any other budget microphone. My main use case for a microphone is for heavy metal singing and for voice acting. Not voiceover, voice acting. And I'm completely unsure if I should go for this mic or should I go for a budget mic. And also I'm not sure how much I'm able to save until November this year. I would really love to hear your advice on this. And by the way, I really like your channel podcast stage and also this podcast as well. Good luck to you and to everyone who's listening to the podcast.
Thank you very much for the voice submission. To summarize, you have an untreated room and you want to know if you should get the Shure SM7B or a budget microphone like the SM58 for heavy metal vocals and voice acting. Not voiceover, but voice acting. First, I will say, I understand the desire to get the SM7B because so many people love it, so many people put it on a pedestal, myself included. I understand that, but it's not going to be the perfect solution for everybody. First thing I want to say, 99% of people will not know what you're using once you hit $100 on a dynamic. Once you hit $100, most people will not tell the difference. Most people will not care. Going above that, just going to be for your peace of mind, or if you're making a boatload of money and the producer demands that you use microphone X, Y, or Z, I think that's where you need to go down that road. But once you hit $100 with dynamics, nobody cares. Nobody's going to tell the difference. And once you hit, I would say $500 with condensers, nobody's going to tell the difference and nobody cares. Second thing I want to say, SM7B, not the best at background noise rejection as far as broadcast dynamics go. Not the best at background noise rejection. Pretty wide polar pattern, picks up quite a bit of background noise. So keep that in mind as well. What I think you should do, I think you should save up as much as you can and get the SM58 or the SE Electronics V7 and then spend whatever other money that you have. Spend the additional money that you have on some treatment for your room. Now, you may not be able to make it permanent, but you could get some foam things and lean them against the wall at least, or build a little makeshift room around you, place them against each other, and then just lean them against, and then it's just kill all the reverb. So I think you can do that. That's what I would recommend. Get a $100 dynamic SEV7 or SM58 or E835, whichever one you want. Get a pop filter, get a good mic stand, and get some treatment. Hopefully that helped, JoeHit. I imagine you already bought stuff, so let us know what you landed on, and I hope you're enjoying it. I hope it's treating you well, and I hope you're getting some good recordings for metal vocals and voice acting. Thank you very much for the comment. That's all. This is episode 299. Can you believe it? 299. We're coming up on 300 next week. 300 episodes. 300. Can you believe it? 300 episodes. I don't even know what I wanted. I don't think I'm going to do anything special. I think it's just going to be just record like usual, because people don't subscribe to hear me patting myself on the back. People subscribe to hear me screaming at the clouds like the old bitter curmudgeon Luddite that I am. So why not give you more of that? If there's anything that you want to see, let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll do it. But that's going to wrap up for today. I don't even have a movie of the week. I did watch a lot of movies. I watched a lot of movies. I think I've told you, I've been trying to do 365 this year. I am about 30 ahead. I'm up at 120 movies so far this year. And I ended on Dirty Work this morning. I woke up and watched Dirty Work because it was available on YouTube for free. All right, that's it for today. I appreciate you watching and listening. You are amazing. You're a beautiful human being. Why doesn't anybody tell you how beautiful you are? You're beautiful. You're a wonderful human being, and people like you. You're powerful. People like you. You're rich. This is some kind of creepy mind control. Okay, that's it. I love you. I hope you have an amazing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Next Sunday, I will be back with episode 300, where I scream at the clouds like the bitter old man who goes to sleep at 9 p.m. that I am. And I will talk to you then. Thanks for watching. Bye.
This has been a Geeks Rising production. Your executive producer is Bandrew Scott. For more information, head over to www.geeksrising.com.